Hello, my name is Barry the Baron Rowland, and welcome to the Baron's Lecture Series. The topic for presentation will be strategic planning for schools and educational organizations. Strategic planning is cyclical with a timeline for completion of 12 to 18 months. It should move through 4 stages. The first stage, present the issues and concerns. Second stage, future trends and needs. Third, the common vision of the future. And finally, an implementation plan. I want to first of all deal with the present issues and concerns in this video and several to follow. An examination of present issues and concerns is an ideal place to start for 3 reasons. Because first, it tends to be closer than the other steps in terms of the common practice, particularly within school systems and schools. Secondly, it deals with the concrete experience of the here and now. And thirdly, it helps us to work from a base of strengths based on a thorough understanding of present practice. In this video, I will present a wide variety of strategies for analysis of the status quo. They deal very effectively with the identification of strengths, weaknesses, and unmet needs within the school system. I will outline the following: 10 statistics to rate your school, rate your school, a sentence completion exercise, school survey, 5 critical records for evaluation, what everyone else is doing, open-ended needs analysis survey, school excellence rating scale, a climate survey, indicators of excellence, what is a good school, 10 questions to evaluate your school, and finally 6 critical factors for excellence. The first exercise to assess the present is called 10 statistics to rate your school. Knowledge of the state of your school allows for both corrective and preventative actions to be taken. Changes in statistical data can measure the effectiveness of the action plan, and ongoing monitoring of critical statistics may permit early identification of potential problems. It's important to remember that statistics must be useful and relevant, not gratuitous. It must allow you to do 4 things: identify where problems are occurring and the severity, analyze the interrelationship of statistical changes to determine potential cause, specify the targets against which you can focus, plan, and evaluate the effectiveness of the action taken. You can see from the chart in front of you that there are 10 types of statistical data that will provide you with the place to start: scholarship, staff turnover, absenteeism, teacher-student ratio, library usage, participation, critical incidents, discipline, staff service levels, public response. Specific types of data are provided on the following slide. You may have the data on file, you may not. You may have to set up a way to collect and keep it. And trends and patterns, of course, are important. A historical perspective will give a clearer understanding of what today's statistics mean, and points throughout the year will demonstrate if there are patterns or trends. The key is to use this data. What does it mean? What is changing? What is causing the change? What is an appropriate standard? With a quantitative indicator, you can establish either a preferred standard or whittle things to a point that's acceptable. So the procedure is as follows, and you can see the data planning proposal. You review the statistics that are listed here. Then you complete the school assessment data planning proposal, then assign responsibilities and get started. Exercise 2 in assessing the present is called Rate Your School, a sentence completion exercise. Now, this exercise can be administered to everyone who's part of the school. You can use a random selection method, or if your school is small enough, you may wish to involve all staff members and students. If you work in a school that serves young students, you may wish to limit participation to the older portion of the population, or modify and simplify the sentences. The objective here is to obtain reaction data from diverse groups, determine the areas of improvement needed and current level of satisfaction, establish a baseline for future analysis and planning. So, review all the questions, ensure they are relevant to the school. If inappropriate, delete them before distribution. Print copies of the final format. Announce the reason for taking the survey and stress confidentiality. The aim of comparing and contrasting responses. Distribute the survey and ask respondents to set aside 30 minutes to complete. There are no right answers. First thoughts are best. And specify a return date. Assemble data by sorting respondents according to type. Transpose data according to category and by question. And separate responses to each question according to positive or negative comments and count number of positive and negative comments. Analyze the data, the comparing and contrasting, particularly look for trends and issues. Prepare a brief analysis of the results, highlighting positive areas and specify where improvements are needed. And of course, thank respondents and provide them with a copy. Now you can see, I'll go through the entire list of school-based questions. You can see teacher competency, student capability, family adequacy, school spirit. And those will give you a very good start in terms of a second exercise you may wish to use to assess the present situation of your school or organization. The third exercise you might consider for evaluating and assessing the present is called 5 Critical Records for Evaluation. The objective of the exercise is to determine the 5 most critical record factors that can be used to evaluate success in your school. To involve staff in the discussion, of course, is the next step, and it's a discussion about excellence and records that will lead to creative determination of factors for research. The agenda on the slide is structured for a committee or staff meeting with interested members. You can go through this and see how it unfolds. The room should be set up in an informal work table structure with the agenda on flip chart paper. At the end, summarize all the data and be sure to distribute to the staff with a request for any additional comments or suggestions. Exercise number 4 you may consider in assessing the present is called What's Everyone Else Doing? This exercise will give you an idea of what planning projects are underway or completed locally and in other schools. It will also give you an opportunity to review successes and failures in other places with projects and learn from others' experiences. The object is to make a list of public and parochial school boards or schools in your area and develop a contact with an administrator at each. Ask the names of key people who are undertaking or have undertaken or are considering planning projects, strategic planning projects similar to the one you may have. Now, there are variations in this exercise as well. You can interview perhaps a local reporter from a newspaper in person or by phone and ask what strategic planning projects he or she are aware of. Read the newspaper's motherboards in schools to see what's going on there. Network with people at conferences. And of course, check with your local Ministry of Education to see what projects they may be aware of. The following gives you an interview guide to the kinds of questions you would be addressing, whichever variation or methodology you use. You can see that on page 1 there are 5 here, and page 2 there are some additional questions as well for you to use and assess and develop an overall response from whatever source you're tending to use. Exercise number 5 that you may wish to consider in assessing the present is called an open-ended needs analysis survey. The objective of the exercise is to gain a perspective of what needs are perceived in the school system and school, and to begin the process of involving stakeholders in the planning. First of all, select a representative group from each major category of stakeholder. Use a large meeting room equipped with flip chart paper, marking pens, and arrange 6 tables or seating areas and identify each with a card. Administration here, students here, parents here. Ask the group to select a recorder and supply each group with paper, markers, and tape. Also provide each person with a needs survey sheet. You can see the first page here, and give them 10 minutes to complete it individually or independently. As a group, ask them to share their individual answers and record it on the large flip chart paper, and give them about 20 minutes to do that. Post the records and have each group share the results with the full meeting. Note the similarities and differences among group results. Now, there are variations that you may wish to consider. You could conduct telephone and personal interviews using the needs survey sheet. You could have groups meet after the first report to look for themes, or you can follow with a priority ranking exercise. Now let me go through the other questions on the needs survey sheet so you get an idea of what might be there. You also have additional areas of concern, so you can lead people along in terms of some areas that obviously apply to every school and would help some of the stakeholders to be able to put comments down that would be appropriate. Exercise number 6 for consideration for assessing the present is called the School Excellence Rating Scale, a climate survey. You can see the first page here. I'll flip quickly through the other pages shortly. The climate in which a learning takes place is an important factor in judging a school. This exercise presents staff with a method to assess the conditions and circumstances of their school. So you ask individual staff members to rate each question. If not applicable, just circle it with a 0. Encourage staff to make comments explaining their responses, and tabulate responses choosing one or more of the following methods. You can make summary statements on those that are rated higher and others that are rated lower. In another meeting, you can discuss and confirm the responses and plan changes. Following the implementation of the planning, a portion of all the questionnaire can be re-administered to staff to get an idea of what progress may have occurred and has not occurred. Let me go through it. You saw page 1 with curriculum and staff. Here's page 2 talking about students and learning environment. And again, that gives the staff the opportunity who are working directly in the school to give feedback in terms of their observations and perceptions. Exercise 7 for consideration to assess the present is called the Indicators of Excellence. What is a good school? You can see the indicators that are on the slide in front of you. The objective of the exercise is to identify participants' perception of what makes a good school and what are those indicators. Select a minimum of 3 categories from the following and randomly assign each participant 1. Curriculum, learning environment, equipment and supplies, staff, organization and administration, community factors, instruction, and students. Ask the participants to take 5 minutes independently to list the qualities felt to be characteristic of good relationships to the category they have been assigned to. Ask them to go to the same category to meet and gain agreement on the qualities they like. Ask each group to list indicators which can be observed from each of those qualities, and summarize the group's response on separate lists for redistribution to everyone. And you can see at the top of the slide, the category assigned goes there, and then you follow through on the questions independently and then collectively work your way into a total response from a group. There are variations. Instead of randomly assigning participants, put their names under a category and following the exercise ask why they chose some over others. So they can choose which category, but put their names under each and let them choose. Once a consensus is reached on what is good, ask participants how they rate their present school. And thirdly, prepare a list of indicators for each category and ask participants to prepare progress cards. In subsequent meetings, action plans can be developed as you examine the progress that has taken place or not taken place. Exercise number 8 for consideration in assessing the present is called 10 Questions to Evaluate Your School. You can see the first page on the slide, and I'll show you the second in a moment, but the objective of the exercise is to determine key elements in evaluating your school and acceptable indicators of these key elements. In a staff meeting, ask half the staff to interview the other half using the questions accompanying this exercise. Ask the interviewees to respond with the first thing that comes to mind and ask the recorder to take it down verbatim. Ask volunteers to conduct similar interviews with custodians, secretaries, members of the community, and parents. Compile the information from each of the groups. Now, the follow-up is important. You can conduct discussions on similarities and dissimilarities of responses, gain consensus on the responses felt to be most important in evaluating each element, and conduct a review of the school at present time to identify strengths, weaknesses, and gaps. You can see here's page 2. So there are a number of areas that you need to look at to consider. Back to page 1. And finally, exercise number 9 to assess the present is called 7 Critical Factors for Excellence. I'll show you all of the pieces to the sections in a moment. But the exercise is similar to indicators of excellence, which we looked at earlier, what makes a good school, but takes a more direct approach in assessing the present. In a planning session, review the statements in each of the categories, add or delete statements to make them relevant to your school. At a staff meeting, explain the exercise, distribute the questions, and ask staff to complete within 1 week and return to a designated place. Summarize the responses and use the summary for further discussion and planning. There are alternatives again. Compare average scores for each category and consider why some have higher averages than others. Survey several schools and compare results. Begin a database of results throughout the entire school system. Ask people to provide 2 ratings for each item. The first would be present practice. The second would be, in their mind, what is ideal. You can see page 1. There's page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That gives you an overview of all of the various questions and the rubrics that you would use in assessing each of them.